I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome back. Today we're beginning an exploration that really gets to the heart of the whole system. We're shifting gears a little, arriving at a really special reading that introduces the next whole block of lessons.
It's a fascinating look at, well, what is maybe the most misunderstood concept in all of this?
The miracle.
The miracle. We're focusing on the essay, What is a Miracle? And it's just a beautiful, very dense piece of writing. It completely redefines the term, moving it away from things happening outside of us and placing it squarely in the mind.
And that's really our whole mission for this exploration.
Yeah.
The internal versus the external.
Exactly. Although we're well familiar with term miracle at this point, this essay sets the stage for the next 10 lessons.
Perfect. So before we get into the discussion, we're going to read the full essay word for word. This is really the foundation for everything we're about to unpack.
And just a quick note before we start, you can always reach us at ACIM at the worldharmonyproject.org.
Or find us on TikTok and YouTube at the World Harmony Project. Okay, so what is a miracle? A miracle is a correction. It does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It undoes error, but does not attempt to go beyond perception, nor exceed the function of forgiveness. Thus it stays within time's limits. Yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness and love's awakening, for fear must slip away under the gentle remedy it brings.
A miracle contains the gift of grace, for it is given and received as one, and thus it illustrates the law of truth the world does not obey because it fails entirely to understand its ways. A miracle inverts perception, which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions that were manifest. Now is perception open to the truth. Now is forgiveness seen as justified.
Forgiveness is the home of miracles. The eyes of Christ deliver them to all they look upon in mercy and in love. Perception stands corrected in his sight, and what was meant to curse has come to bless. Each lily of forgiveness offers all the world the silent miracle of love, and each is laid before the Word of God upon the universal altar to Creator and creation in the light of perfect purity and endless joy.
The miracle is taken first on faith, because to ask for it implies the mind has been made ready to conceive of what it cannot see and does not understand. Yet faith will bring its witnesses to show that what it rested on is really there. And thus the miracle will justify your faith in it and show it rested on a world more real than what you saw before, a world redeemed from what you thought was there.
Miracles fall like drops of healing rain from heaven on a dry and dusty world, where starved and thirsty creatures come to die. Now they have water. Now the world is green, and everywhere the signs of life spring up to show that what is born can never die. For what has life has immortality.
So this essay isn't just floating here on its own. It has a very specific purpose.
Right.
As we know, in part 2, each group of lessons starts with one of these what is sections, and this one sets the tone for a whole run of lessons on miracles.
And what's so striking, I think, is how modest the definition is. When people hear the word miracle, they expect fireworks.
Absolutely.
That very first line says it does not create nor really change at all. That's a direct collision with how we usually think of a miracle, isn't it? As some big physical external event, God parting the seas or something.
And that collision is the whole point. It immediately takes the power away from the external world and puts it back in the mind.
It can feel a little underwhelming at first. When we're struggling, we want a dramatic solution. We want the miracle to be the thing that makes the debt disappear or fixes the body. But this is insistent. The miracle changes nothing in form.
And that's because the form was never the problem. The ego doesn't actually suffer because of the external event itself. It suffers because it uses that event. The difficult diagnosis, the layoff, the fight with a partner, as proof that it's a victim, proof that the world is a scary place, proof that love is gone. That whole process of layering meaning onto a neutral event, that's what the essay calls devastation. The miracle doesn't need to change the facts. It just withdraws that disastrous interpretation. It looks right at what we're calling a catastrophe and reminds the mind that the story it's telling itself, that story is false.
It just removes the one tiny error in the mind's projection system.
A perfect way to put it, the devastation isn't the event. It's the mind's conclusion that the event has stolen its peace. And that is a huge psychological shift, because we're all conditioned to believe that what happens out there has the final say on our worth and our safety.
It demands a complete surrender of the ego's way of operating.
It shows you the shift from feeling like a total victim to resting in peace, even when, on the surface, the painful situation is still there.
It's hard, though.
Oh, it's very hard. Even now, almost at the end of the course, some of us may wish for the occasional miracle, like I did when my mom died this year, and I wanted a signal from her, from beyond.
That desire is so deeply human. Of course you did. And I think the Course is so gentle with that. It doesn't deny our humanity or the feeling of loss. It doesn't shame us for wanting a sign.
No, it doesn't.
But it just patiently guides us from needing that external proof to remembering the peace that was never actually gone. We learn over time, just let that initial story of devastation settle, and then recall that who we really are is completely untouched by the world's comings and going.
Precisely. And that's why the miracle doesn't have to be some grand supernatural thing. It is simply that instant, that one moment where you switch over to Christ's vision right in the middle of a really tough situation. It's the moment the mind chooses love over the ego's story of fear.
That first paragraph also has that fascinating line about time. It says, the miracle stays within time's limits, yet it paves the way for the return of timelessness.
That's such a profound distinction. We live in this illusion where we have schedules and deadlines and clocks ticking. The Course never tells us to just, throw our calendars away.
Right. It's not an excuse to become irresponsible.
It says our activities in the world aren't the point. Only our perception is. So things like time, the body, a phone call. The Holy Spirit uses all these worldly things to point us back toward the timeless reality of who we are.
I look at my calendar some days. It's triple booked with meetings, kids have soccer practice, deadlines are looming, and it feels very, very real.
The miracle doesn't bypass the schedule, it uses it. The ego tells you that your frantic pace, your stress, your whole identity is that schedule. It convinces you that the pressure of time is defining you.
I feel that.
The miracle just stops the mind for a second. Long enough to recognize, okay, this schedule is what my body is doing in the world, but it is not what myself is doing.
The miracle doesn't cancel my meetings. It cancels the identity that feels persecuted by them.
There's a part of you that is completely untouched by the pace of the day. A self that doesn't have a calendar at all.
For me, that would look like I see the packed calendar, and instead of letting the panic set in, I just allow that peace that exists outside of time to inform how I handle things in time. I still go to the meetings, but I go from a place of calm competence, not exhaustion.
You're asserting the mind sovereignty over the world. It's the same with, say, scrolling through the news or social media.
We have another big one.
Huge. We see all this conflict, this discord, this bad behavior, and the ego's immediate response is to match it, to get angry, to judge, to despair.
Which just reinforces the idea that the world has power over our internal state.
But a miracle looks at those same headlines and it just hears a call for love, not a reason for more judgment. It reverses the whole power dynamic in an instant.
It's like having an internal editor that just stops the noise from getting in. Like that gold bar scandal everyone keeps talking about. I read those headlines and feel my frustration climbing. A miracle stops me long enough to see a person acting from fear and calling for love, even if they don't realize it. I still vote however I vote. I just don't let their behavior pull me into the same state of mind.
And that right there is what the essay means by paving the way for the return of timelessness. Each one of those small corrections loosens the ego's grip. It makes us realize that peace isn't some reward we get when the world finally fixes itself. It's available right now, no matter what the calendar or the headlines say.
Then the essay says the miracle inverts perception which was upside down before, and thus it ends the strange distortions. The ego's whole system is inverted, isn't it? It thinks the cause of our pain is outside us.
It mistakes effect for cause every single time. It believes the neighbor is the cause of my anger, or the schedule is the cause of my stress, when the only real cause is my own internal choice to judge.
And we get very good at justifying those judgments. We collect evidence. I mean, if my neighbor leaves their trash cans out for 3 days, my conclusion that they're being disrespectful feels like a solid, fact-based reality.
It feels like an open and shut case. But the miracle doesn't ask you to make excuses for the neighbor. It just turns the spotlight back onto your own mind and says, look at the negative meaning you are adding to this neutral event. You can just not do that.
And that's the inversion of perception. I thought I was seeing reality, but I was just seeing my own judgment projected outward. The moment I decide the trash cans are a sign of disrespect, I've created conflict where there was none. The miracle just withdraws that projection.
It's so different from positive thinking, which would try to repaint the situation by saying, oh, I'm sure he's just busy. That's still focused on the external form.
Right, it's still making it about the neighbor.
A miracle goes straight to the judgment itself. It says the neighbor is irrelevant to your peace. The tension only ever existed in the meaning you assign, and you are free to unassign it.
Which brings us to that beautiful line. A miracle contains the gift of grace, for it is given and received as one. In the world, giving and receiving are two separate things, a transaction.
But the law of truth is that the mind is one, so the act of giving is the act of receiving instantly.
The world thinks forgiving someone is this big, noble sacrifice we make for their benefit.
A generous gift from us to them. But the moment I release the judgment I'm holding against my coworker, or the politician, or my neighbor, I'm the one who stops carrying that irritation. I'm the one who feels the relief.
The healing is extended to both because the mind that judged and the mind that forgives are really the same mind.
That's exactly it. When you release the judgment, you stop carrying the heavy burden of needing to be right. That release is the gift of grace. You give it by withdrawing judgment, and you receive it as peace. It happens in the same instant.
And that's why it says, forgiveness is the home of miracles. The miracle, it's just what happens when the mind comes back to its natural, peaceful home.
It's the clarity that's left when we drop the barriers, the judgments that we put up.
The line, what was meant to curse has come to bless, really hits home there. My judgment was a curse. It was designed to separate me, to make me right and them wrong.
And the miracle, the correction, transforms that weapon into a blessing. It restores the unity that the judgment tried to break.
But there's a big hurdle.
A massive hurdle.
The willingness.
I think the line about taken first on faith is one of the hardest in this essay. Most of us want proof before we take a step like that, like wanting some reassurance that forgiving my sister for that snide comment at Thanksgiving will actually help before I make the effort.
The ego demands a guarantee, doesn't it? Show me that she'll apologize, show me that things will change, then I'll consider forgiving her.
For the ego, being right is a form of self-preservation. Letting go of a grievance feels risky.
So faith, in this context, is just the willingness to believe that peace is possible, even when all the evidence from the past says conflict is the only option.
That willingness is asking for the miracle. That's the step.
And that's where the Course brings in the idea of witnesses.
The witnesses are the internal confirmation. They are that immediate, palpable drop in your own tension. The comment your sister made might still be a memory, but it doesn't have a sting anymore. It doesn't have the power to ruin your day.
That feeling of lightness, that release.
The facts of the world haven't changed, but they don't hit you with the same force because you're no longer telling the same story about them. That's how the miracle justifies your faith. The peace you chose to believe in becomes your immediate experience.
It's not a clap of thunder. It's a quiet internal shift.
And it's so practical. Think about it. When you're holding a grievance, your mind is totally occupied. It's full. There's no room for anything else because you're so busy proving you're right and they're wrong.
The grievance takes up all the space.
The miracle is like the broom. It's not the full experience of God's presence, but it's the way we clear space for it. And that line, forgiveness is the home of miracles, makes it very simple. When I'm holding a grievance, the space is already occupied. I'm filling it with my need to be right.
So we're at a crossroads in every moment. I can hold on to being right about my neighbor's trash cans, or I can let my mind settle into something happier. The grievance itself is blocking the very relief I'm asking for.
That's it. You can be right or you can be free. The shift is just releasing that defensive stance that shuts down all connection.
Let's look at that incredible imagery in the last paragraph. Miracles fall like drops of healing rain on a dry and dusty world.
Such a powerful image.
Let's look at that phrase, dry and dusty world. The Course is pointing to the way things feel when the ego sets the tone. Even ordinary parts of the day can seem drained of meaning when I'm in that mindset.
That dry and dusty world is an internal state, isn't it? It's that feeling of burnout, of everything being a chore. The starved and thirsty creatures are the parts of our mind that are just running on empty.
Starved because we're feeding them the ego's diet of grievances and fear.
Which has zero value. It's the inner grind, those moments where we feel totally cut off from love, from meaning, from any sense of vitality.
And the miracle is the rain. It's that immediate refreshment for the part of us that's been parched. The calendar might still be demanding, the news might still be running, but how we meet those things starts to draw from a different source.
An inexhaustible source.
Right.
So instead of meeting stress with more resistance, you meet it with this underlying peace. Your identity is no longer tied to how well you manage all the demands.
And then the text says, the world is green, and signs of life spring up. It's not that the world outside changes, but our experience of it becomes alive again. Where there was just stalled effort and resistance, suddenly there's flow, there's movement.
That shift in the internal landscape is the witness. It's the proof that the correction has happened.
And the essay ends by connecting all of this to immortality. For what has made? Life has immortality. That's pointing way beyond our daily problems.
It's saying that every time you choose a miracle over a grievance, you are remembering your true identity. The part of you that judges and fears is the part that feels temporary and mortal.
The ego self.
But the self that chooses peace and love, that's eternal. That's the shared life that doesn't begin or end. Each little miracle makes that eternal self feel more real, and the stressed out, time-bound self feel a little less compelling.
And it's so actionable. We don't have to wait for some grand spiritual awakening. The healing comes through simple willingness. We just have to be willing to clear the debris, the judgments, the grievances, and let the rain fall.
We can't force the big awakenings, but we can sweep the floor. The miracle meets us right where we are, in our world of problems and time, and it performs the correction right there, in the mind. It's the perfect bridge from fear back to love.
So the biggest challenge isn't solving the world's problems. It's our own internal resistance to peace.
It's our attachment to being right. That is the only barrier.
The moment we see that holding a grievance is just a choice to suffer, letting it go becomes the only sane option.
For today, you might notice where that dryness shows up in your own life. The areas where you notice strain. Just notice where you feel that friction, that sense of effort and drain.
And when you spot those moments, maybe experiment with seeing them differently. Not as external problems to be solved, but as internal opportunities for a correction. For a miracle.
See the tension not as a fact, but as a choice your mind is making.
A choice that can be unmade.
This What is a Miracle essay is the foundation for what comes next. When a lesson asks for quiet or for a calm mind, this is the understanding it's inviting you to return to.
The key takeaway, then, is that a miracle is just a shift in allegiance. From the ego's story of fear to the Holy Spirit's correction of love. Right in the middle of whatever you think is wrong.
Let the next stretch of lessons show you the peace that's been available underneath the noise.
Thanks for walking this path with us. We'll be back tomorrow with the first miracle lesson.